share my screen again. I think I'm still screen sharing. Okay. And then I want to briefly talk about my experience at our experience at Rosehack. So Surabhi and I both did a data science project for Rosehack, and we actually won one of the awards, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of my bad. I didn't kind of advertise it to you guys too well, but I'm really hoping that we get some good data experience here, and then hopefully we'll be ready by Citrus Hack to have you guys compete for your first hackathon. So, Shirby, you want to share a little bit about how our Rose Hack was, or we kind of bounce off each other?
Yeah, so our Rose Hack experience, we were in a team of 4, and um, basically how Rose Hack works is that there's several different tracks in which so one of them was like sustainability, one of them was like women-centric, but they're essentially topics that you should try to model your projects to like look like be in like related to that topic, and so then you can try to earn the prize for that track. We chose sustainability, and so our goal was to try to make a model that can recognize like images of trash and like classify it as like organic or recyclable in order to reduce trash waste and like be more sustainable. So we didn't end up winning the sustainability prize, but that's okay because we kind of took this as a chance to learn more about like deep learning, since we had to use a neural network in order to like make that model. We did win best use of Microsoft Cloud because we used like Power BI in order to make like different visualizations. So overall, it was a really great learning experience. We got to learn how to use a new tool, Power BI, and also learn new topics. Every single hackathon at UCR like welcomes in beginners. There's like workshops and stuff to help you learn new things, or like lots of mentors around to help you with your projects. So my advice would be like, even if you feel like you don't know enough or you feel like you're not experienced enough, to just go. Because even if you don't make a project, you meet a lot of new people and you can attend the workshops and gain knowledge. So that's that.
Yep. So don't be scared. We will for sure make you guys sign up for Citrus Hack, because that's also another way of just like forcing yourself to work on something for 24 hours, and you learn a lot. So that's really great. I had a lot of fun. So you guys can see my screen here, right? Yeah. The Google Colab stuff. We're going to, you can follow along on your own. So that's, I encourage you to do so. So you're gonna go ahead and do file and then new notebook. Then while that's loading, yeah, I want you to go to Kaggle. Yeah, and hopefully you guys have registered an account like I told you to. If not, I'll give you a little bit of time to catch up and do that. I want you to search well, actually, if this is your first time opening up Kaggle, you have all these data sets that people go like upvote and stuff like that. If you just want to practice your data skills and kind of like prepare yourself for like data science, data analyst roles, a lot of analysis can be done here that demonstrates like you're able to like use the skills they're looking for. So from here, our first meeting, kind of asked you guys your hobbies, what interests you, and I feel like a common ground we all had was our passion for watching movies and TV shows. So this data set was pretty interesting. There's a handful of columns here. Tells you who uploaded this, how many upvotes from like really big users that on Kaggle that are like distinguished people, and then there's just like a score about how good the data set is. A lot of the times when you're in the real world, you won't be given super clean data like this. There's a process of downloading it, doing some initial kind of quick stats to understand how clean the data is you're interpreting. A lot of the times, these data classes, they'll just teach you all the fundamentals of coming up with stats and stuff like that, but they never warn you about working with bad data, and then it kind of I'd say there's a concept that they always teach data analysts. That's the very first thing. It's called garbage in, garbage out concept. You'll hear that a lot if you take data science classes. What it means basically is if you put bad information into your code, right? Like the data is bad, you're gonna get bad information coming out of it. No matter how good whatever stats and code you write, you got to make sure your data is good. So I saved you guys the trouble. This data set is pretty clean. So we'll just be practicing our kind of like coming up with statistics and chopping this up into information that we can digest. So you're going to go ahead and download it, right? And be into a zip file.
Actually, if you see the download button right above the part that says like 9 of 9 columns, like right there, can you point it out?
Oh, right here.
You should download that because it will directly download just the file and it won't put it in a folder or anything.
All right. That's why we have you on call. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do that. See. Okay. That's great. Nice. So that's the CSV file we were going to be working with. Just curious. Let me see what's inside the zip file, actually. So downloading it whole will download it as zip. Okay. And then you just have to unzip it. Well, that's nice. Okay, yeah. I don't think there's any difference between this and that. Yeah. All right. So you're gonna go ahead and title. Oh, yeah.
They should download like our notebook that we made.
Yeah,
actually.
I sent it in the Discord chat.
Okay.
So make sure you guys download that, the CSV file.
And go ahead and upload that to your Google Drive.
Week 1 does, or let's just call it, it's data time and does. Very important to have like titles on your Google Colab stuff. So in your Google Drive, you understand what you kind of worked on. If you're really unorganized in your Google Drive folder, it's going to be really tough to pull up these notebooks when you need to reference it. Speaking from experience, make sure you do that. Sometimes I like to tag maybe like the date. So that's what I do. Nice. All right, here you're gonna click the 3 little dots right here, and actually no, upload. Let me see this one. I was doing this locally on my VS Code. You can also do that, but I think I want to suggest they use the Jupyter Notebook. Surabhi, do you want to share your screen because you're going to be doing the first little half of it?
I'll share my screen. Okay, so this is the notebook that Rohit and I made. And so this is what we'll be following along for the lesson today. So I'll just start by explaining what Pandas is. So Pandas is a library in Python that holds a lot of different functions which are really useful for like data manipulation and data cleaning. So essentially Pandas is very useful for data science because it's easy to go through the data set and make changes to the values or fill in data that's missing, things like that. So moving on, we'll start with the fact that Pandas has 3 data structures. So a data
So wait,
frame,
sorry to interrupt really quick. Could you show them how to upload it into the Google Colab? Sorry.
Google Cloud. Yeah. So you guys have all been able to just download the file off of Discord, right? The IPYMB.
Should, sh-
Is
should
that
we
it?
let them use VS Code if they want to, or no? You want to do this
Uh,
alone?
they can, but I changed the lines to work for Google Drive because I didn't know. Okay,
Okay.
I think everyone gave a thumbs up. So just go to your Google Drive, and in the corner there will be something called like just click like new. It'll be like a plus sign, it'll say new, and then click file upload and just upload that file. Here we have the notebook, as you can see. So I explained just like very briefly what pandas is, and so the data structures of pandas, right? This is essentially what we're going to be like doing, applying different functions to. So pandas has the series, the data frame, and the index. So a data frame, essentially it looks kind of like an Excel sheet. It's like a table, and it holds the data in different rows and columns. And the data frame is made up of different series, which are just the columns. So the series are just like 1D columns, and then the data frame is made up of them. And then the index essentially is keeps track of the position of each row, and that it's like just like an array has different like has indexes, right? So does the data frame, right? So this is sort of an image illustrating that. So you guys saw the data set we're using. To get started, go ahead and run the first 2 lines of code. Essentially what this is doing is this is connecting all the files in your Google Drive to this notebook so that you'll be able to access them. Since the movie CSV is in your Google Drive, this step is important so that you'll be able to access that, and we'll be able to put it into a data frame later. So once that happens, we'll start using pandas. So this first line here, run that. Essentially what it does is it just imports the panda library so that we can use it. And then after that, run the next line, which it uses the pandas, and it will read the file into a data frame. So you can run these 2 lines. So let me know when you guys are done with that. Thumbs up. So once that is done, we'll just start going through. We'll start looking at the data, right? That's the first thing. You need to see the data in order to like manipulate it. So the first function is dot columns. In this, you can see the the names of all the columns in the data. So mine is already ran, but you can press play for that. And then now we can display the data frame. So go ahead and run the next line too. Once you have, so everyone can probably see that the data frame now, this is how it looks. It has all of the column names at up top, and then all of the data points as rows on the bottom, or after that. So once that's done, just a really useful function is df.head. You can run that. It'll just show the first 5 columns, because display obviously shows a lot of columns and it takes up a lot of space. I mean, sorry, a lot of rows, takes up a lot of space. So definitely dot head is good to use. So after running this row, the next thing we can do is check what data type each column is. And you can do that by running moviesdf.dtypes. And that should give you a series that looks like this. It will show you what data type each is. Okay, so one thing about this is, as we can see, almost everything is an object, right? Except for the index and the IMDb rating. But if we look at the data above, the rest of the columns are giving us numerical values, right? Votes is a number. Runtime is a number. Year of release is a number, right? But these things are currently object, which is essentially the string data type of Python. So if we ever wanted to like analyze it, we kind of need it to be like an int or a float so that we can run the functions on it. So let's start by changing the data types of those columns. So we would change it of year release, runtime, votes, and gross total. So the first thing we're going to do is work on the column year of release. So when you look at year of release, everything has parentheses, right? And the numbers inside. So if we want to convert it to an integer, we need to get rid of the parentheses first. So we can start by doing that. Go ahead and run the next line. But as you can see, it doesn't work, right? Because it only got rid of half of it. And this is because it doesn't save it unless you set the column equal to the change you made. So for example, over here on this chunk, we've said the column of year release is equal to the column of year release when you replace the parentheses, right? So once we do that, that will get rid of the parentheses and leave us with just the numbers. However, here there's still strings. Is everyone with me? Yeah, okay. Moving on. So now that we've gotten rid of the parentheses, what we'll do is we'll change it to an integer, which you can do with the .has type function. Then you can run the next line. And as you can see, it will, you can go to year of release and int will be there instead of object. So
Object is kind of like a string, right?
A string, yeah, string. It won't be string anymore. So now that we showed you how year of release works, we also did the runtime column and votes column for you guys. So go ahead and try to do the gross total column on your own.
I think we can go ahead and show the solution. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. So the first thing that you want to do is take a look at the thing, at the gross total column. What you can see is that it has a $sign and an M, which is preventing it from being a number, right? So we want to get rid of that. So what we'll start by doing is taking the gross total column and we're going to replace those two things. So dot string dot replace, and what we'll do is replace the M with nothing. And what we'll do is the same for the $sign. We'll replace it with nothing. So once you do that, you'll be able to see that it got rid of that. However, we still have not converted it to a number. So next we will do the as type function. Got as type, and because the numbers are not integers, we will convert it to a float. As you can see, this is the data, and if you want to see the the data types,
You have to use .str.
I did.
Oh,
Hold on. It's because you can't run it twice, by the way. You just, if you try to, hold on. If you get that error, just go back to run all, and that should pretty much fix it. See? So one thing is you can't run the code block twice, like right after each other, because in this dot as type, if you try to cast it as the same, the thing that the variable type that it already is, it'll give you an error. You can get around that by doing this. So when I do it again, so that's because I spelled this wrong. Hold on. Never mind. For the as type, you can do that to make that happen, but with the dot stir dot replace, you can only run it once. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna pass the mic, not figurative mic, to Rohit to do iloc and lock.
sure.
Just thought I should mention really quickly, if you click on runtime and then click run all, it'll automatically run the entire thing from the top.
Or if you're
So-
selected in this specific cell, you could do run before and it'll run all the code that leads up to this, whichever one
So
you
yeah,
selected.
if you're getting that error, do one of those two things. And that will fix it.
Nice. So iloc and lock, it's like using for kind of like iterating through the data frame and kind of this is where you can start to like kind of query what you want from the data, right? Kind of we want to start answering some of the questions that we have about the movie data set. So the first one would be there's some similarities between using iloc and lock. I want to first mention that. iloc, the I, it's like for index. And then this one is using the labels of the column. So we have like our labels here, movie, name, year, release, category, and stuff like that. So you can pass it into the data frame like we've been doing here. You would use dot lock, and then you would use the label like that for lock. iloc, you're going to pass in a number, so an integer value. And you're familiar, integer, the indexing goes from 0 to the size -1. So that's how it's accessed. I'm going to be showing you how to kind of go through these with like wanting to know what single value, what some of like the single value questions are, maybe a list of values across a certain like condition. That's another thing I'll be kind of showing you. And then, yeah, and then here's the differences. Like I said, location based for lock, and then iloc is with numerical index. Now let's set a row index. That's the first thing I want to show you. Because normally you'd be indexing the default index will be like an integer value going from 0 to whatever size. So I'm going to be showing you how to set your own index. So we're going to call this movie df, underscore with index, right? I'm going to set this. This is going to be a data frame, right? A temporary one we're going to use. And this is our old data frame. We're going to set index. We're going to put maybe. So now we're able to traverse through our data set by movie name. So like if I want to know some like the information about the silence of the lambs, instead of having to use the index here, I can be like, okay, I just want to know what it is at the silence of the lambs, right? So that's what this is basically doing. So go ahead and run that. And another helpful thing is instead of like hitting the plus the run button right here, if you use Shift Enter, right? You hold down Shift and press Enter, it'll run that little tab for you. So that's a little shortcut I kind of like to do. So here I'm going to show you how to use lock. We're going to go movie with the data frame we just made, right? I want to access the IMDb rating for the Silence of the Lambs, right? So go ahead and copy this. This is the index we're going to be using. Yeah. And I want to know the rating for it. So this is the index value, which would be like what row it's in, right? And then I really want to get the IMDb ratings. I'm going to put IMDb, sorry, not BP. And go ahead and run that, and it should give you 8.6, which is correct. Nice. So now we're able to query it like that. Next one is using iloc. Let's use our old data frame. This is the default indexing, so it's a little actually here. Yeah, so it's index based, if you remember. So I'm going to put in the first value because we want to receive the information stored at year of release. Here's where you can see how it gets kind of annoying using iloc because I first want to display it so I can figure out what the numbers are, right? So we need to find the information stored on year of release. So that would be 0, 1, 2, the second column, I think. Yeah. Second column, right? Movie, the second column. But what row is what was the fourth row? Say I were to ask you for Shawshank Redemption, you would actually have to know that's in the fourth row. So it's your 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be it. So first value is the row, right? And then I want the year of release. So 0, 1, 2. So 3, 2. You can comment out display because we don't need that anymore. Go ahead and run this. Let me see. Oh, I forgot to put lock. There we go. Nice. So now we have the date for when this movie was released. That's how you use iloc. I feel like using iloc is good for like future maintainability of code. Say all of a sudden the CSV files start coming in, but somebody changes the title of one of the columns, right? Instead of calling the title IMDb or let's see, movie name spelt out like this. They spell it out with capital movie underscore name. Then all of a sudden, this code needs to be updated, right? So that's why it's better to use this for future maintainability of your code. But if you want to just like proof of concept, do something really quick, that's why you use lock. Okay. Now I want to show you using the colon operator, how you can kind of get multiple values or yes. So now using lock, we're going to do a movie. We want to get all the rows with all the movie name. The rows for movie name column. Yeah. Using iloc, right? Movie name was what column? I think that was the first column. Let me just see how that works. Okay. Yeah. That's how you do it with iloc, right? The colon will just everything. So you can also give it like a start and a stop. So say I just want to get the first 5 values. The way it works is this is start, stop, right? The colon separates start, stop. And if you add another colon, this is the step. So now I want to say I'm starting at the 0 row and I want to go all the way to the fifth row. That's a stop value. And then I want to do a step of 2. So skip 2 every time. You do that, and then all of a sudden you get 0. You stop at 5, it doesn't print out 5, and it steps 2. So 0, skip 1, go to 2, 2, skip 1, go to 4. That's how it works like that. You can also do the same thing with the columns. Say I want to go from column 1 to 8. I want to display that. Boom, you got it like this. All right. So that's how you use the colon operator. You can also use that with lock. With lock, let's just say we're using the default one, so it's a little easier for rows, right? Because the default rows is numerical, so we're just going to do 0 to 5. But here is where with lock, I want to say I want genre to vote. Okay, so I'm just going to do genre to vote. Actually, yeah. So that's what it looks like. Sweet. Now we know how to do that. Now you want to select a list of values. Before I move on to this section, I just want to know, is everybody following along? Stuck anywhere? Surabhi, can you check the chat for me? Oh, everybody's good. Awesome. Okay, cool. It's making sense, right? Yeah. This is kind of how you don't want to get overwhelmed with all the data. You just want to see a certain amount of columns at a time. That's how you work with it. Hide the floating mean controls again. Okay. Now, this is, you want to select a multiple items, right? You can do the same thing. Yeah. Say 0, 1, 2. Oops, this is locked list. Those are important. I always sometimes forget. Yeah. You're gonna put those inside their own list, right? So I want 0, 1, and 2. Of that, let's keep like I want say uh, sorry, you want to keep these inside of a reference too. All right, sweet. So you can just put it in like a list too. You do the same thing with lock, iloc, but with numbers, right? Okay, now via conditions. I showed you the basics of how to do it with how to kind of query based on, okay, this is the row, this is the number row I want you to look at and which column to kind of uh, pinpoint which value it is. Now, say you want to get a range of values based on a condition, right? Um, here's what you would put in. I want you to first run this code, right? And what this code is basically telling you is get all the rows where the rating is greater than 9 in that column. When you run that code, you get this. There's two movies, The Godfather and Shawshank Redemption. I want to give you a hint. There's an and here, so Python is pretty self-explanatory how to write an and if you know. If not, just like Google it. But I want to give you a little bit of time to try that for yourself. I want you to find the rows where the category is rated R and the movie was released after 2010. So movies underscore yeah, right? And the category needs to be rated R. So what we did before was what was it called? It's called category, yeah. Category. It needs to equal rated R. And then we also will use the and operator to write another condition, right? The movie needs to be released after 2010. So that would be the year of release column. You'd look at that one. Movie dot year of release. That needs to be greater than 2010. Oh, I think it's called movies. Movies. Sorry, not movies. Go ahead and run that, and boom. All the movies here are greater than 2010, and the category is rated R. So that's how you're able to display a subtable of that. Say you want to store those values into a different data frame, you would just set that equal to like a temporary view. Maybe I just call it movies underscore rated R underscore 2010 or something like that, past 2010. A lot of the times you don't want to really mess with the master data set, so you can kind of just store it into temporary views and then do some manipulation or visualizations with this variable you just stored. A lot of the times, just for these examples, we kind of set it equal to and kind of mess with the main data set, but each operation you do, I'd suggest you kind of set a temporary data frame that you kind of save yourself from messing with the master data frame and it affecting your results on your other answers, right? Just from like one block of code. Say we were to kind of like delete some items on here. You want to do that like that. Okay. So we'll take over the quick stats, right? So these are pretty self-explanatory. You put in movies data frame and then this column, and it gives you the max value of that column. You put in you specify the column, and it tells you some quick stats. So you use these functions to kind of summarize that. And the last thing is like there's a describe function. So instead of manually typing these out, you can kind of do .describe, and that tells you like a quick stats view of that column. A lot of the times these are very helpful for as soon as you open up a data set, just get some quick information out of it. That's what you do. Next one, I want to talk about the unique function. Something important about a data set, you should know like what are the unique values that come up in a data set. So these are like the options and category, right? There's some rated R movies, PG-13, PG. Sometimes you might see like repetition of like a category. Maybe somewhere along the line somebody inputted a row that repeated the rated R, but they had a lowercase r or something like that, right? You never know. So this is part of like the data cleaning up process where you're like, okay, maybe some of these categories can be merged together, right? So that this is where this unique function can kind of be handy, because all of a sudden you're doing data analysis, but you're only reading the capital R's. You never looked at the lowercase r's. That affects your results. So you want to make sure you kind of are reading through your data like that. Here are some functions for sorting. Say you want to sort the entire data frame. A lot of the times, this is really helpful for seeing like the top 5 highest movies or something like that. I think there's an ascending option. Yeah, I was going to say this is in descending order. There's not a descending. A lot of times, it's hard. I'm just showing you guys the basic functions, right? Sometimes you won't remember the exact values that get passed into these functions, right? You get better at it with practice and keep doing some data analysis projects, right? But say you don't use sort values after a long time, you want to know how it works and what gets passed into it. You go to this pandas.pydata.org. They have like a lot of documentation on this. A lot of the times, like you might be using like iloc and like some really big Pandas statements to get query data, when there's like really easy ways to go about doing it. So it's a lot, right? So like I don't expect you to know all of them, but I want you to know just like the basic commands that will help you get your foot through the door. A lot of times it's a lot of going on Stacked Overflow and then kind of seeing examples of people doing Pandas stuff. Yeah. Here I'm gonna do ascending equals false. And now you have it in descending order. Now you can sort with multiple values by putting it in as a list, right? What it's going to do is sort the votes first, and then sort the IMDb rating. That's another way of doing that. You kind of do this as well. And you switch the order, and you can kind of see, I think 0 goes back to the top because rating is being, um, or did I get it flipped? Did I have it flipped?
Uh,
I think I have it flipped. Yeah.
Um,
It
I think it's
sorts.
because it sorts rating first and then votes. So it keeps rating as like the rating should be descending no matter what.
Hmm. Okay. Gotcha. I think that was all I had
Because
for today. Oh, sorry. You want to explain that a little better? Sorry.
okay, I guess. So as you can see, like, in the one on top, the votes are in like perfect descending order, whereas
Mm-hmm.
in the second one, the votes are not, right? But instead, the rating is in perfect descending order. So
Mm.
it's almost like in the array, it's like by priority. The first one you put, the first category you put, it's going to be sorted like that. It will be sorted like that no matter what. And then like it's like the next one is like a secondary sort.
Oh, okay, okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Thank you. So that was all I had for today's Pandas thingy. We will be holding a second workshop where we kind of go deeper into this. Surabhi, you wanted to add anything else?
I did want to add something really quick. If you could
Mhm.
go back to the notebook and go to the part where we clean gross total. Um,
Mm, gross total. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
This
yeah.
one.
Okay, this one, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so one thing is when you first run the block, what it gets rid of the M, the dollar sign, right? And then it converts it to type float. And so the reason I had the errors and why it kind of threw me off a little is because you converted it to float. If you run it again, the first two lines, dot stir dot replace, won't work anymore because it's now a float and not a string, which is what gave
Hmm.
the error. So I would recommend either separating those lines so that dot stir dot replace are in one chunk and then dot as type float is in another, or be careful, just run it once and then comment out dot stir dot replace. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. So you don't get unnecessary errors.
Because the first time you do it, gross total is an object, right? So
Yeah,
then that's why string works. Then you cast it to a float, and then that the bunch of code is done running.
yeah,
Next time, the second time you run it, it's a gross total is a float, and you're trying to use a string, so that's why it spits out errors. So it's kind of like you only run this code once type of thing. Um, that's why we were doing run all, and it worked the first time. So that's why it's very important to know. See if we're manipulating it, we're not making a copy of gross total and storing it. So that's why like you have to be wary of edits you're doing to the master pandas data frame. I call it the master one because that's the one that's like the first one. Yeah. The one you just do the read pandas CV. I think that was all. So this is giving you like the basics of how to come up with quick statistics and kind of understanding your data set before you start to like really work with it. See like, hey, is there a correlation between like the year of release and then what kind of category it's in? See, you want to like kind of answer these kind of questions. Knowing how the distribution of the data and stuff uh, is, you kind of will use pandas for that. I think in our next workshop, we'll kind of go into, okay, now I have two CSV files. I want to group by a column and then do some more analysis on that. Um, Anything else you wanted to add, Surabhi, or do you think that was good?
yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Uh, I wanted to maybe offer a little bit of Surabhi's time if you had any questions, or Let me get into what I want to cover next week. So next week I'm going to give you guys another data set, but this time I'll ask a little more tricky pandas questions. Yeah. And I want you to write the code and try and work on it yourself. Once you get really familiar with that, then we will we will I think there will also be some like plotting stuff. So it's not just printing out the table. Maybe you can start to like kind of visualize the distribution of the data. So I'm really excited to show you guys that. And then after that, we'll start doing like linear regression and stuff with data, and that'll be fun. And hopefully we'll be working with cooler data sets. This movie one was pretty cool, but I want to also be able to make this like our project is going to be creative, right? I'll give you an example. Like you guys have seen like the end of the year Spotify kind of thingy. A lot of people do data projects based off of that, kind of like visualizing their listenings and stuff like that. So I'll do a little bit more research on finding a fun data set we can work with. And if you have any questions, feel free to ping me throughout the week. I'm whether it's just like classes, question like registration, stuff like that. What you need to prioritize, career goal questions. Like I'm a resource for you. I didn't have that. I had to like really figure out stuff the hard way. So I've been through it. So and Surabhi can definitely help you too. I think maybe
Yeah.
you guys have her Discord through this chat, so maybe you can ping as well. All right. Sorry to put you on the spot. I know you didn't agree.
No, yeah, feel free to add me as a friend on Discord. Yeah, of course.
Great. I think that's all. I didn't want to take too much of your Saturday. Thank you guys for those that attended. I will also post this recording if you want to view the video again. All right.